For many people, Đông Hồ prints are instantly recognizable: bold folk colors, a gentle shimmer on the paper, and scenes drawn from Vietnamese life. That familiarity can make the tradition seem secure. Yet in December 2025, UNESCO inscribed the craft of making Đông Hồ folk woodblock prints on the list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding. So, why does a famous tradition still face serious risk? Because recognizing the image is not the same as keeping the craft and the knowledge behind it alive. UNESCO did not inscribe a museum collection or a set of individual pictures. It inscribed the living craft that produces them. That craft includes designing the image, carving woodblocks, understanding paper and pigments, printing in sequence, using specialized tools, and passing knowledge through the community. The finished sheet is what viewers see. The deeper heritage lives in the hands, memory, and judgment of the people who make it. Some stages take years to master, especially image design and woodblock carving. Printing blocks can also be preserved and passed down as family assets across generations. So even if familiar motifs remain visible in books or online, the heritage can weaken when too few people still know the full process. The urgent safeguarding list is not a prize saying the work is finished. It signals that the practice and its transmission need timely support. To understand why, follow the journey of a single print. It begins with an idea and a drawing. The design is drawn in ink on paper, then translated into lines that can be carved into wood. The maker must simplify forms, organize areas of color, and anticipate how separate printed layers will meet. The printing surface is da, a traditional handmade paper. It is coated with a layer called điệp, which gives the sheet its pale tone and distinctive soft shimmer. Traditional pigments come from materials of natural origin. Each color is printed in its own pass, and each block has to land in the correct position. Vietnam's nomination file and UNESCO's decision describe a set order. The black line block is printed last, bringing the image together. A small shift can throw the color areas out of alignment. The apparently simple look of a Đông Hồ print is therefore not evidence of simple technique. It depends on connected forms of knowledge: choosing materials, preparing pigments, carving blocks, aligning paper, and controlling pressure. Safeguarding the craft means maintaining that whole chain, not only archiving photographs of finished works.
Đông Hồ prints also matter because they once held a place within community life. UNESCO describes themes related to belief, history, daily activities, and landscapes. Vietnam's Department of Cultural Heritage also groups the works into worship prints, congratulatory prints, narrative scenes, proverbial subjects, and depictions of everyday life. The craft is associated with occasions such as Tet, the Vietnamese Lunar New Year, Mid-Autumn Festival, and some practices honoring ancestors or deities. In other words, these prints were not made simply to fill an empty wall. They carried wishes, stories, and ways of thinking about family, work, and hopes for the future. As people use fewer prints during traditional occasions, the relationship between the product and everyday social life becomes weaker. A tradition can remain famous by name while no longer appearing as naturally in people's lives as it once did. UNESCO's reasoning is direct. The number of skilled practitioners has fallen sharply, and only a small number of families continue the craft. Fewer young people are choosing to learn it, while design and woodblock carving can require years of practice. The work is also difficult to sustain as a livelihood, and demand for woodblock prints during festivals has declined. These pressures reinforce one another. When sales are limited, young people see fewer viable career prospects. When fewer people learn, knowledge becomes concentrated in fewer hands. If experienced practitioners cannot pass it on, one link in the chain can disappear quickly. The loss may be quiet. A printing table closes, a set of blocks loses its knowledgeable keeper, or a class finds no successor. By the time the wider public notices, rebuilding the practice may be far harder than supporting it today. So what should safeguarding look like? The plan reviewed by UNESCO goes well beyond putting objects on display. It includes vocational training, inventories, product design development, wider markets, better access to materials, and safer working conditions. It also supports bringing knowledge of the craft into both formal and non-formal education. Most importantly, the practicing community must remain at the center. Researchers, media, and markets can help, but they should not detach the visual style from the people who hold and transmit the craft. Innovation also needs care. New products may help the craft reach today's users, but if they ignore the techniques, origins, and the community's right to decide, they borrow only the outer appearance. Living safeguarding means enabling practitioners to keep learning, teaching, creating, and earning a viable livelihood through their skills. Viewers can help without beginning with a grand gesture. Learn where a work comes from, ask who made it, buy pieces with transparent provenance, join responsibly organized workshops, and share the story accurately. That kind of attention supports the people behind the image. When making content, avoid copying a specific print with generative AI and calling that preservation. Heritage is not merely a visual style that can be reproduced without limit. It is a relationship among skills, materials, practitioners, and community. Don't Ho offers a useful reminder. Fame does not guarantee safety, and UNESCO inscription is not the end of the process. Inscription matters only if more people can learn, practitioners can sustain livelihoods, and knowledge continues to move from one generation to the next. If you chose one way to help the craft live on, would you learn the process, buy from a documented source, or bring the story into schools and youth programs?